Hi everyone, welcome to my week 2 discussion board. Today we'll be going over the 4 theories and how they apply in today's world. So this first slide is Categorical Imperatives by Immanuel Kant, which basically defines it as rational humans have to follow ethics unconditionally without a personal motive. For example, this cartoon is depicting a woman asking a man if this makes her look fat. According to Kant, if it does make her look fat, he must be honest with her, as his action cannot be for personal motive. For instance, lying to her to make her feel good, the consequences do not justify the means, as it is duty bound. There's also a maxim, which is defined as an absolute moral statement. It's necessary a maxim have the ability to be used everywhere and by everyone, so the maxims are never broken. For example, murder, it's universally understood that murder is not acceptable. Another component of this theory is the universal ability, and it's the reason for acting. It must be reasons everyone could act on, and at least in principle. Can't believe that the moral rule or principle can only be described as a rule if it can be applied universally. Rational and autonomous is conformity of one's will to see right, the universal moral law. In Kant's view, autonomy was the key to understanding and justifying the authority that moral requirements have over us. This next slide is utilitarianism, which is by Bentham and Mills, and it focuses on the results or consequence. Intentions are irrelevant. It can be defined as a doctrine that actions are right if they are useful or for the benefit of the majority, and that happiness should drive the morality. Some of the core elements are all humans by nature seek utility, a balance of pleasure over pain. So the principle of utility is basically provide pleasure to the most people, even if it produces less happiness for yourself. So decisions should be made lacking personal interest, and one should act as if they're an advisor to the issue or to the situation without the personal interest. Egalitarianism, every individual's utility counts the same as every other individual's utility. Rule utilitarianism, follow the rules that produce the most overall utility. This is done only once when deciding which rules has to follow. After that, it's a matter of just following those rules. Another component of this theory is hedonism, which assumes that the rightness of the action depends entirely on the amount of pleasure it tends to produce and the amount of pain it tends to prevent. This is contractarianism by Thomas Hobbes, and it can be defined as a social contract, and it can be for both governments and its citizens. It basically saves us from a war against all based on this philosophy. Contractarianism suggests that people are primarily self-interested and that a relational assessment of the best strategy for attaining the maximization of their self-interest will lead them to act morally and consent to government authority. It's based on an as-if construct that morality will naturally emerge for free, rational people, that the self-interested people will create cooperation and work together for the betterment of everyone. For example, in our video, the mangoes and avocado trees, where the one neighbor had an avocado tree and the other neighbor had a mango tree, and because they wanted to share the goods and they both benefited, they created this contract. We can define rationality because it's required that we respect people. Requires that morals can be justified to each person. As such, individuals are not motivated by self-interest, but a commitment to publicly justify morality. Some, consequences or cons of this theory are when cooperation is not reciprocated. And that can be defined as defection. For example, when the mango neighbor doesn't let you get mangoes off his tree anymore, what happens then? It's a break in contract. And there is when you decide to look after your own interests instead of cooperating. You can't force people into a contract, and the system as a whole must make your life better. As such, slavery would not be condoned under this theory. We can define morality as it doesn't exist until the group of people, agree what it is. So morality can be changed. This is the virtue theory by Aristotle. Virtue theory can be defined as how to be a good person and live the good life. The actions that one does doesn't matter, but the kind of person that you are is what matters. It emphasizes individual character. For example, Robin Hood, robbing from the rich to feed the poor. It's saying his actions aren't good by robbing someone, but the kind of person he is that he wants to give to the poor would be considered virtuous under this theory. Virtuous can be defined as what we aspire to be. If you focus on being a good person, you will do good things. It should be natural. According to Aristotle, there are two types of virtues. There are moral virtues, which are irrational and acquired through habit, and there's intellectual values, rational and acquired through instruction. Aristotle says if you are virtuous, you will know what to do. It doesn't need to be specific. Courage and the golden mean. It is the mean point between reckless and deficiency. For example, vice of excess is bashfulness. The mean is modesty, but the vice of deficiency is shamelessness. So it's a set of virtues lying between two vices, which would be your golden mean, and that's what we all should strive for. Eudaimonia is the highest goal of humanity. It's considered the good life or human flourishing. Depending virtue is the way to satisfy life. Virtues make us good people and help us live well. Does the theory of virtue apply to public administration? I believe it does, because the attitude and skills and behaviors of public administration, such as civic duty, honesty, integrity, are all aligned virtues of myself. In theory, public administrators should be aligning themselves with the mean point and avoiding excess and deficiency. I applied utilitarianism with the killing of Soleimani. Soleimani was, a major architect of terrorism. He killed numerous Americans and people within his country. And by killing him, one of the goals was that we deter future terrorist attacks. So arguably, this action could be justified as utilitarianism because it was focused on results. Specifically, it justified that we ought to live life likely to lead the greatest good for the greatest number of people. So, by killing Soleimani, did we preserve more lives? Under the theory of utilitarianism, we did. Contractarianism and driving over 100 miles per hour. So we aren't late to work, but we don't drive over the speed limit because we might put others' lives at risk. We don't want to put others' lives at risk. So we enter into these unspoken contracts with other drivers and maintain safety. But when someone breaks that contract, it's a defect of contractarianism. Thank you so much for watching my discussion, and I hope everyone has a great day. Bye.